Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. I'm joined by my brother Jack, and today we're going to be getting into the live chat. We're going to be answering some questions from you guys. We're going to be talking about everything surrounding the New York Jets. We did not play yesterday. As you guys know, we had a primetime football game on Thursday night, so we're going to give our thoughts about that game as well, and then preview the Buffalo Bills game coming up. We get some news today from Robert Saleh. Corey Davis looks like he'll be returning this week, which is very good news. We also find out that all four quarterbacks could be full participants this week in practice, so it's interesting to see who's going to start this week at the quarterback spot. We're going to get into all that stuff. The positives so far this season, because, guys, we are officially halfway through the year. We are 2-6, and this is the official halfway point for the New York Jets season, and there's a lot of things that we can digest, a lot of things to unpack. We're 2-6. There's a lot of negatives. There's a lot of positives, and there's a lot of things that Jack and I will be getting into. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Unfortunately, this is no Victory Monday, even though if we won, it would have been Victory Friday, but we're still going to have good vibes. It feels good. Right now, I have a lot of optimism going into this week against the Buffalo Bills. And once again, guys, shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. And Jack, how you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm still riding that New York Knicks high, even though we lost last night. It's my first Knicks game ever attended last night, so it was a great night for me last night with Richie and two of our other friends. But yeah, now we're back to the Jets world. So it's definitely a little bit more upsetting than the Knicks world, but you know, man, I think you said it. I have a lot of optimism thinking about this next game based on what we saw yesterday from the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that was insane. I didn't get to watch any of the game. I was in the city all day, but I mean, 9-6 in favor of the Jaguars, insane. So who knows what's going to happen next week? It's a very interesting time to be a Jets fan right now. So we'll get into all of it. But yeah, I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very interesting time. You know, if you told me before the season that 8 games in, we're going to be 2-6, and we're going to be where we are right now, I'd say, okay, I can see that happening. You know, like I said, going into the season, I never was going to be looking at the wins and losses. But then when you're in the season, you want to win every game. You were looking like, all right, we're 2-6. That sucks. We're a bad team. But then you realize that this season is not about the wins. It's not about the losses. It's about the development of not only these young players, but the young coaching staff. And I think the biggest takeaway that I'm taking away from these past 2 weeks is the development of this offense. The New York Jets under Mike LaFleur, ever since he went to the booth, they have 997 yards of total offense, 8 touchdowns, and 64 points in 2 games. Now, the only thing that's an issue with this is Zach Wilson's not the quarterback. So it's hard to really assess what the offense looks like because I think we all know that we're still invested in Zach Wilson until proven otherwise. He's going to be getting the start whenever he is indeed fully healthy. So hopefully these numbers can look similarly to this when Zach Wilson goes out there. But I'm not taking that as a negative. I know some people are like, oh, well, these offensive numbers look so good because we have Mike White and Josh Johnson. Well, you know what? Don't look at it that way. The way I'm looking at it is it's a very good sign that Mike LaFleur is getting creative. He's getting everybody involved. The wide receivers are knowing their routes. They're getting open down the field. The running backs are taking big steps in the passing game. Michael Carter, Ty Johnson look like an actual tandem. And then the offensive line is taking big steps as well. Elijah Vera Tucker is establishing himself as one of the most bright spots to this entire Jets offense. The tight ends actually made some plays. Ryan Griffin got in the end zone. Tyler Kroft had a crazy play. So the entire offense is starting to click, and it's really exciting because we knew in the beginning of this year, it was the complete opposite, Jack. It was the defense was carrying us, and the offense was the reason why we couldn't win games. Now, here we are. We could have won the game against the Colts, I think, if the defense did their job. We would have won a couple of more games if the defense finally, stuck to their roots of what they were doing from week 1 to week 4. So I'm taking that as like, okay, beginning of the year, defense was great. Offense sucked. Now, the midway through the year, in like a 4-week sample size, defense sucks. Offense is great. So we got a little taste of what it's like to suck and not suck on both sides of the ball. So now it's time to see if this Jets team can finally get it clicking on all phases of the ball at once. And that's what I'm really excited to see, not only this week against Buffalo, but as this season progresses down the line, if we can finally get consistency on both phases of the ball. So, Jack, what's your thoughts about the offense in particular, going with these numbers in the last 2 games, having just under 1,000 yards of total offense and 8 touchdowns? And what's your thoughts of Mike LaFleur having a bounce back after having a really tough start to his rookie campaign being an offensive coordinator?
Super duper impressive, man. I think that LaFleur clearly is better up in the box than he is on the sideline. And Green Bean came on the live stream the other night and made a couple good points. There's just things going on the sidelines that he's just completely removed from when he's up in the box, just only worrying about calling the right play. So I think it's the move clearly to have him up there. But going back to your original point, I think you said it beautifully. We're really just waiting for that perfect game. We're waiting for the two sides of the ball to sync up. And it's just a shame that it hasn't really happened. I guess maybe borderline the Tennessee game, you could say that, kind of. But we're still waiting for a very good defensive performance and a very good offensive performance in the same day. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. But I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's a feeling of optimism. It sucks that we're losing these games. We're 2-6. But there is a feeling of optimism there because we have the pieces and we have the talent. We've seen it. We've seen the offense flash. We've seen the defense flash. It just needs to come together and happen in the same game. I don't know if there's a team that's going to beat us if that happens. If, whoever's at quarterback can throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and our defense can play at the level that they played against the Titans, when we sacked Ryan Tannehill 7 times. And I don't even need 7 sacks, 4 sacks. That would be sick. So I just think that everybody needs to get back to playing the ball that they played on the defensive side at the beginning of the year. The offense I really do think that the difference is LaFleur, up in the box, I guess. I really can't think of anything else. I mean, we're even down our number one receiver for the last 2 games in Corey Davis, and this offense is just exploding. So clearly we have the pieces here on both sides of the ball. We're just waiting for it to link up in the same game. And when that happens, man, it's going to be beautiful to watch, but we're just waiting on it, and it hasn't happened, so we're losing games. But that's what happens when you have such a young team, man. It's going to be inconsistent. And, we're going to win some and we're going to lose some. Obviously, we've lost more than we've won, but we kind of all saw that coming this year, realistically. So 2-6, like I said, I could have seen that coming, but it's finally nice to see some progression on the offensive side of the football. And we know what this defense can do. They just got to get back to it. And I think that they will before the season ends. So it's definitely not going to be, a playoff run for the Jets this year, but I think it could be a fun end of the season. If all this defense needs to do is get back on track, and this offense just needs to keep doing what they're doing. The big question, which we'll obviously get into as the stream goes on, is who's going to be the quarterback. But we'll see, man. As of right now, this offense is fun to watch. Shout out to Josh Johnson, man.
Yeah, Josh Johnson went out there, was this close to getting a 4-touchdown performance, and then he unfortunately threw that interception that wasn't really his fault. It was pat at the line of scrimmage when it was on the 5-yard line, and he almost got a 4th touchdown, which was crazy. But the next thing I want to talk about with you, Jack, which I think is probably the most positive thing you can take away from the first half of this Jets season, has been the 2021 draft class from the New York Jets. If we go over every single draft pick and you see the production that they're doing, it's pretty impressive. So I tweeted this out earlier today, and I'll put it on the screen right now. So here's the Jets 2021 draft class, and I put a check for the players that I think we can agree that it was a really good pick, and they're producing and they are playing very good football, and they're also starters. And that's a really good thing that they're starters. So right now, I have Zach Wilson as a question mark because, as we know, Zach Wilson started off the season rough. 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, rookie quarterback. That's going to happen sometimes. It's really hard to, flourish in this league as a rookie. We're hoping that when Zach Wilson gets back and he starts probably next week, the mental reps that he took watching Mike White and Josh Johnson take over the offense as veterans and really get everything moving, those mental reps really helped. And hopefully that Zach Wilson will turn into a green check by the end of the year. Elijah Vera Tucker, I could have put a star for AVT. He's definitely the best rookie so far on the New York Jets team. That's an easy one. Elijah Moore. There was a really slow start to Elijah Moore's campaign as a rookie. If you look at his first 4 games, it was really tough to get him involved. And I think it wasn't his fault. It was the offense. The offense wasn't clicking. There was nobody getting anything. Zach Wilson was not doing anything. Corey Davis was barely doing anything after that week 1 good performance. Michael Carter didn't do anything. Like, everyone was wondering, where's Elijah Moore? There was so much hype around training camp. Why is he not doing anything? Well, the offense we didn't get to see what the offense could do when it clicks when Elijah Moore's involved. And now, 3 straight games, Elijah Moore has 10 plus points in fantasy. 2 straight games, he has 6 plus receptions. He's coming off a 2 touchdown performance on primetime football. So we got to see the Elijah Moore breakout performance. And I'm so happy he was on Thursday Night Football because he is a superstar in the making. And I have all the confidence in the world of Elijah Moore being a guy on this team for the future. Now, going into Michael Carter, that's an easy one. He has been probably the most impressive offensive rookie playmaker. You know, you can toss it up between Elijah Moore and Michael Carter, but Michael Carter has been more consistent than Elijah Moore. Michael Carter is looking like a guy that can absolutely make people miss whenever he needs to. He's a guy that can block, which I love about him. That's a very underrated part about running backs. He's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, obviously, and his great vision, great poise, and great comfortability in the offense as a rookie. And then Jason Pinnock, you know, I have a question mark there simply because we haven't seen him play. He's not starting. So we do not know what Jason Pinnock can do yet. I'm excited to see what he can do if he does get subbed in. I did notice, though, against the Titans, he was in on certain packages. So it's good to see him get his feet wet. Michael Carter II, you know, this is another home run pick from Joe Douglas. He's going to be the starter for the New York Jets in the nickel for the next, you know, at least on his rookie contract. I think that we don't have to upgrade the slot cornerback next year. I'm totally comfortable giving MC2 that role next season. Jamie Sherwood, he started off the season good, and then he got hurt, and then he came back, and he's out for the season with a ruptured Achilles, which absolutely sucks. Hamza Nasruddin, you know, he's a little question mark as well because we haven't really seen him on the field. He's been injured, but now he is back and he's going to be healthy for this week. Brennan Eccles, starter, playing alongside Bryce Hall. I think he low-key could be one of the biggest surprises of this rookie draft class. He's a starter. He's making big plays. And then Jonathan Marshall is indeed a question mark. So, Jack, you want to give your overall thoughts by this 2021 draft class so far from the, you know, first half of the season? Obviously, there's a lot of games to be played. So some of these question marks, like Zach Wilson, can turn into a check down the line. Hamza Nasruddin can get some playing time. And I'm excited to see, man, because listen, if we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outside of the quarterback, 5 starters out of one draft class, I don't think people understand how insane that is. So shout out to Joe Douglas. So give your overall thoughts about the draft class so far this year.
I mean, super impressed with how these rookies have played, have been all year. You know, the vast majority of them, as we see on this screen right here, have stepped up. And Jamie Sherwood would be a check, I feel like, if he did not get an injury. So, you know, I'll count that as another check, I guess, kind of. Zach Wilson is the toughest one to look at, obviously, for all of us. You know, we obviously wish that we could give him that check by now, but he really didn't. He had a good game against Tennessee. Didn't really show us much besides that game. And then, you know, he's obviously missed the last 2 games, and he's probably going to miss this week's game as well. So, you know, it just kind of looks like, as of right now, dealing with the same old quarterback woes that we've been dealing with. Obviously, Zach Wilson, I'm manifesting that he's going to come back and he's going to destroy for the rest of the year. And he's going to come back next year, and he's not going to have a sophomore slump, and he's going to just be an elite quarterback for the New York Jets, 100%. But right now it's tough, man. So like you said, he's definitely going to earn that check mark as the year progresses. AVT could get a star for sure. But yeah, the check mark will definitely do. AVT, obviously, there's really not much else I can say about that. He's been very solid pretty much all year, besides maybe one bad game he had. Maybe week 2, I think that was, against the Pats or something like that. Elijah Moore was definitely a question mark up until 2 weeks ago, man. He's earned that check mark over the last 2 weeks. And maybe that's due to LaFleur. Maybe that's due to, you know, a different person at quarterback. Who knows what it is, man. But Elijah Moore has been getting open all year. It's been documented. Everybody knows it. And it's good to see him finally, you know, getting his chance and getting the opportunity and getting targets his way. Michael Carter, love him, man. I think he's, you know, becoming a real fan favorite now. He's just absolutely just shifty, man. That's how I always describe him. And he's also like, I wouldn't really classify him as a power back, but he also has traits of that as well. You know, just the way he attacks a hole, but his speed and quickness to be able to outmaneuver, you know, the first tackler pretty much 9 out of 10 times. He's really got good qualities of a power back, but overall he's a more of a, you know, elusive type running back. So I just feel like he's really just extremely solid, and he's you know, he's already proved his worth over the last few games for sure. So big check mark for Michael Carter. Obviously, Pinnock we haven't seen on the field. Michael Carter II has been balling out all year, doing his thing in the slot. And it's, fantastic to see, from all of these young cornerbacks, Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles, who we'll get to in a second. Obviously, Bryce Hall is not a rookie. He's in his second year, but, that's obviously still a very young player in this league. So, all these young cornerbacks have been balling out. Michael Carter II is no exception. Obviously, Sherwood with the injury could have been a check mark, but torn Achilles, right? Yeah, that sucks, man. So he probably won't even be available till like this time next year, right? He probably won't be able to start next season. Hamza Nasruddin as well. What's
He's gonna be
Hamza's?
healthy.
Is he healthy?
He got activated off the IR this week, so he's practicing now. So he's going to be
Okay,
in
that's good.
rotation this week.
Yeah, he definitely will with Sherwood out for sure.
Yeah.
It's his time now. Obviously, it's unfortunate that it's due to a Sherwood injury, but now we could potentially see that Nasruddin turn into a check. Brandon Eccles, man, he's been solid all year, but after the Cincinnati Bengals game alone, man, he gets a big check mark for basically shutting down Jamar Chase all day. Obviously Jamar Chase still had a decent stat line, got in the end zone, but it was not a Jamar Chase type game. After coming off a 201-yard game, he got shut down for 36 yards and 3 receptions on 9 targets. Brandon Eccles was on him for a majority of the day, it seemed like. So big check mark for Brandon Eccles. And then Jonathan Marshall, obvious question mark. We really haven't seen much out of him at all. But I will say that I agree with your point a while back ago when we drafted him, that it's nice that the Jets keep doubling down on their best position group, because, maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, like all of a sudden, Jonathan Marshall could be like our next Foley Fatukasi. Like, who even knows, man? So it's good to see that they're doubling down on the best position group, but we haven't seen him on the field. So I agree with your list for sure.
Yeah, and I speaking on Jonathan Marshall real quick, I would be totally okay with cutting Nathan Shepard or something. Just throw him to the curb and putting Marshall into that job, because Shepard has been absolutely atrocious all year. If you look at the stats, he's like out of a qualified interior defensive lineman, he's last in like everything. So
that was crazy when I saw that this morning. I cannot believe
Shepard,
that.
Let's see the rookie Jonathan Marshall in there, because he's a raw product, and the Jets, even when they have 8 healthy defensive linemen for a game, all 8 of them will be in the game. They like rotating in, they like fresh legs. And also shout out to Jabari Zuniga. He's going to be having a big role in this defense now with Bryce Hall on the IR, because not Bryce Hall, sorry, Bryce Huff. He's injured. So we're going to have to see what's going on with that. So Jabari Zuniga should try his best to take full advantage of him being out. So now that's our thoughts about the 2021 draft class. I think Jets fans should be very excited about this draft class, because, guys, I don't think you understand the importance of being able to hit on late draft picks. We have guys that we drafted in the 5th and 6th rounds that's starting and being productive. Brandon Eccles and Michael Carter II comes to mind first. Michael Carter, the running back, as well. I mean, that's a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick. So you got to give Joe Douglas credit, because he said he wants to build this team through the draft, and now he's a man of his word. I know that the 2020 draft class has not been as good as we wanted it to be, but if the 2021 draft class can really hit, and if Zach Wilson really comes back and he progresses, and at the end of the rookie season, we can all as Jets fans think like, wow, okay, Zach Wilson is the future. He showed a lot of potential. I cannot wait to see him year number 2, because that's what's going to really determine this draft class, if Zach Wilson's the guy. Yeah. If Zach Wilson's the guy, this draft class could go down to be the one that really changed the entire trajectory of the Jets' future, because this is the foundation. The Jets have a foundation right now, and now it's up to them to continue to build on it and develop these kids for the long run. So I'm really excited to see what's going on with this Jets rookie draft class, and I'm excited to see what they can do for the rest of the season. So now getting into some negative things. Unfortunately, we got to bring it up. The defense, man. The defense has a lot of things to work up. The last 4 games, it's been a problem. The defensive line has been underperforming. CJ Mosley's coming off his worst performance of his Jets career. I think CJ has been an absolute animal every single game this year for the Jets, besides the game against the Colts. We just got absolutely destroyed. Whether that's you tip your cap to the Indianapolis Colts and Carson Wentz and Jonathan Taylor and Pittman and Frank Reich's offense, or you just say the Jets defense and not show up, because I think that we got outworked in the trenches, and that's where this is all starts with the New York Jets defense. If the defensive line is not getting pressure on the quarterback and you're not stopping the run, you're going to get destroyed. And the Colts, they're always been a team that's been known to build through the trenches. Their offensive line are a bunch of dogs. Quentin Nelson, the Quentin Williams went up against Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson got the best of Quentin Williams in the passing game. Quentin Williams got the best of Nelson in the run game. So it was kind of a draw between those two upcoming stars. Nelson's a star and already established, and I think Quentin is as well, in my opinion. But I just feel like the Jets defense has a lot of things to work on, man. And I think that we can all agree, and Jack, I know that you're going to bring this up as well. We are not good at defending the screen passes, the underneath routes. And that's not something that's like the Jets have been struggling with all year. If you look around the league that have the same type of scheme that Robert Saleh runs, that's the weakness of the scheme. And that's a problem because we needed to be able to contain that. And like I said, if you look around the league, similar 4-3 base attacking front defenses are struggling with the same thing. And the Jets have to be really aware of that and know, like, okay, how can we adjust? How can we make sure that if we're attacking the quarterback and we realize the offensive line's like letting us go, you got to be aware, like, okay, if it's this easy to get to the quarterback, that means there's going to be a screen over there, and they got to be aware of that. And hopefully that can, progress as the season goes on. I'm going to hold CJ Mosley accountable. He needs to play better because he is the heart and soul of this defense. I know against the Patriots, he was not there, so we felt like, oh, okay, 54 points. That's crazy. CJ Mosley wasn't playing. It wouldn't have happened if he was on the field. Against the Colts, we cannot get a stop for the life of us. So he needs to really get his stuff together. And probably the most devastating news so far of the season, injury-wise, Marcus May. I didn't really get to talk about this really with you, Jack. Marcus May ruptures his Achilles. He's out for the season. And this is a big blow to the Jets, but I think it's more of a big blow to Marcus May as a person, man, because I know that Marcus May, this season, I haven't really been a fan of him in terms of his, buying into this team. But, I've realized, man, Marcus May, ever since he got drafted to the New York Jets, he put everything into this franchise through all of the dysfunctional coaches that he went through. He's been here for a long time. He was a pro. He shows up to work. Robert Saleh raves about him. He's the coach's best friend. He's been the leader of this entire secondary. He's a big reason why the cornerbacks have been playing so well, because he's the only veteran presence in that entire secondary. And now he's on a franchise tag, and he's, banking on this year to play well so we can get a long-term contract financially. And now he ruptures his Achilles. So you really hurt for him personally, because that's not easy to come back from. He's not going to get offered any money in this offseason. So it sucks for Marcus May. It sucks for the defense as well. The Jets got to really adapt on the fly. But the good thing is that Marcus May was down for 3 weeks. So the Jets did have experience of what it's like without Marcus May. So devastating news for the Jets and devastating news for Marcus May. He'll be out for the year. So Jack, what's your thoughts about this Jets defense? What do they need to work on as the season progresses? And even going up against the Bills and Josh Allen, I know that CJ Mosley's coming off a terrible game, but what's your thoughts that needs to really be worked on with this Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich defense?
I mean, obviously what you touched on is definitely what I was going to touch on. It just seems like anybody in the world can just beat us with a screen pass. And, that's a good point that you made about other defenses struggling with it, because that at least makes us feel better as Jets fans, knowing that it's not just, our defense that can't do that. It's other defenses that run the same defensive scheme that we do. But, regardless of that, it needs to be fixed for sure. Because it's, it seems to be just an easy roadmap to just put up points after points after points on our defense now. Even in the Titans game, which we, somehow won, Derrick Henry still had a monster day on the ground overall. But, McNichols on the screen pass was getting us all day as well. It was, 3rd and 21, and, we gave it up to a McNichols screen. So even dating back to the Tennessee victory, it's been a huge problem for the Jets defense. And it's definitely, I would say their biggest priority that they need to work on, because it's just week after week now. I'm just watching us get burned, whether it's a wide receiver screen or a screen to the tight end, or obviously a screen to the running back. Any sort of pass to the flat, we have a problem defending it for sure. And that just, brings me to my second point, is this defensive line has to get back on track. We were exposed by the Colts offensive line. We're supposed to be a top defensive line in this league. The Colts definitely are a top offensive line in this league. So it was, a battle of two great, front fives, if you will, or front four for us, but, front five against our front four. And it should have been, at least an even battle, but the Colts just won the day completely. It seemed like from the first snap up front. And we always say this, you win and you lose in the trenches, and we obviously lost that game because we couldn't really rattle Carson Wentz, and he was able to do his thing. We all said going into that Colts game that if our defensive line can do their job and just make Carson Wentz's job difficult, we would be able to rattle him, and he'd be start making some mistakes and start throwing some ducks, and we'd be able to capitalize and maybe get a couple turnovers. And great execution from the Colts. I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a monster night. Nyheim Hines once again with the screen passes, and just the running game in general. We were just completely destroyed at the line of scrimmage. And this defensive line just needs to get back on track, man. We need to get back to that Tennessee game. And like I said earlier in the stream, it doesn't need to be 7 sacks every week, because that's, just never going to happen. But, we got to get back on track, and we got to start rattling quarterbacks again, because it seems like, between the easy dump off passes over the middle and the check downs to the flat and then all the screen passes, it seems like, offenses have an easy roadmap to, beat this Jets team now. So it starts up front, and these guys up front got to get back on track. I still think the cornerbacks overall are playing very well. Obviously with Marcus May down now, we're probably going to have some issues at safety for the rest of the year, but that's not surprising with Marcus May down. Ashton Davis has looked okay. He hasn't really looked bad. He hasn't really looked great. He's made a couple nice hits. I always think that the fact that we're not hearing his name as much is probably a good thing. That tends to be the case with, defensive backs. So I still like where we stand in the secondary. CJ just had a bad game, but he's still a beast. He's still our best defensive player for sure. I have a feeling that he'll have a big bounce back game this week at home against the Bills. Because the first game as a Jet, CJ Mosley went off against the Bills. I hope he doesn't go down like he did in that game, but let's see him go off like he did against the Bills. So I'm very excited for that. And yeah, man, I just think this defensive line needs to get back on track, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree, man. The defense has been really bad the last 4 weeks. Like you said in the beginning of the stream, offense has been clicking. Defense has been not clicking. So now the question is this quarterback room, right? We heard from Robert Saleh that it seems like they're not going to be rushing Zach Wilson back. Zach Wilson will be practicing this week, as well as Mike White, as well as Josh Johnson and Joe Flacco. And he said when Zach Wilson's ready to go, he will be the starter, but we do not want to rush him back because he's in week number 3 of his rehab process. They think this is a good week for him to get on the practice field. And if I'm the Jets, I do exactly what I think everyone is saying on Twitter. I think that the Jets should let Mike White go out there this week. Let Zach Wilson rehab his knee. There's no reason to throw him out there right now because this is a long-term thing. We're not fighting for the playoffs. It's not like Zach Wilson has shown anything even to production-wise. We need to get him out there as soon as possible. Mike White deserves another start. He's coming off a 400-yard performance, and then he did really well before he got hurt against the Colts. He deserves another start, but more or less, not even about Mike White. I think it's about protecting your young quarterback. You don't want to throw a rookie quarterback out there so early, and especially against a Buffalo Bills pesky team. And then some people say, like, oh, well, don't baby Zach Wilson. He should be out there if he's healthy. Like, listen, there's no reason to rush him back. I think it's a very good thing. And obviously you don't wish injuries on anybody, but if you guys remember, and I don't want to compare Zach to Sam Darnold right now because we all know what's happening with Sam Darnold, but if you remember Sam's rookie season, he was struggling in the beginning of the year. He injures his ankle, goes down for 2 or 3 weeks. Josh McCown comes in there, and then when Sam Darnold returns at the end of the year, that's the best rookie Sam Darnold we saw because he got some time as a rookie to sit back, watch a veteran, compose the offense, and he took mental reps. That's exactly what Zach Wilson's been doing, and I think it's such a good sign that this offense has been clicking on all cylinders without Zach Wilson when he's on the bench because he has film to watch of positive tape. Because if the offense was going good to crap, Mike White's not playing well, Josh Johnson did not do well, like hypothetically speaking, then Zach Wilson's going to be watching film of just shitty football, and he's like, all right, well, what do I do? Well, now he has an absolute blueprint, a map of how this offense should be run with Mike White, Josh Johnson running the show. Because as great as Mike White was and as great as Josh Johnson was, they played within the system. And what makes Zach Wilson so great, potentially, is that sometimes if a play breaks down, he has the talent to make something happen. And we saw it against the Titans. He has that talent where, okay, the play doesn't work out. I can make a 70-yard bomb with a flick of the wrist. And that's awesome that he has that talent. But what's going to make Zach Wilson a franchise quarterback in this league for the New York Jets is if he can learn to play within the system, take his checkdowns, find the open man, don't overcomplicate things, work on his mechanics, and I'm excited to see if he can progress as the season goes on, because that's really going to make or break his career for the New York Jets. If he can clean up his mechanics, his footwork, play within the system before you rely on those off-schedule type of plays, because Mike White, as good as he was, he's not a quarterback that can do what Zach Wilson could do when it comes to the arm talent. But Mike White looked like a guy that's poised, comfortable within the system, which is a very good sign that he can learn from a guy like Mike White and Josh Johnson. So, Jack, what's your thoughts? Say, hypothetically, Mike White is the starter this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. What do you want to see from him? Are you expecting 500 yards from Mike White, or do you think he's going to come down to earth a little bit? The Buffalo Bills are coming off a really disappointing loss against the Jaguars, so you know that they're going to be there's going to be fire lit underneath their ass. And what do you think about the approach of letting Zach Wilson potentially sit this week, even though he's practicing, and then giving him the gig a week later against the Dolphins, if that is the case?
I think it honestly makes sense. First of all, I truly do feel like Mike White, especially Zach Wilson being kind of, questionable going into this week. I feel like Mike White, after a 400 plus yard performance, and a win, and 3 touchdowns, three, right?
Say that again.
It was 3 touchdowns, 405 yards.
Yes.
And a dub.
I
genuinely feel like he deserves another chance. We love what Josh Johnson did last week when he stepped into the game, but Josh Johnson, I don't think, is ever going to be the starting guy. I really do think Mike White deserves another chance. So if he is the starter, I just want to see more of what we've seen from Mike White, man. I just want to see him play 4 quarters, because I really do think that, this will also be good for Zach Wilson. I think returning versus the Dolphins versus returning against the Bills, the Dolphins seems like a much friendlier game to get Zach back out there. And, if Mike White stays healthy and goes out there and does his thing, and I don't need it to be 400 yards, but if he has another, very solid game, very good game, I think it's just more for Zach Wilson to just learn from, because Mike White understands how to just stay ahead of the sticks and move the football, and take the easy throws. Whereas it seems like with what we've seen from Zach Wilson, although it has been a small sample size realistically, he's only really, he prefers going for the home run shot every time. And that's just, that occasionally works in this league, but that's just really not an effective way to move the ball consistently at all, as we've seen. And it, leads to a lot of turnovers and sloppy play and things like that. So hopefully this will just give Zach Wilson more time to learn. And obviously, listen, man, we are at kind of it is a weird feeling, because, we definitely want to root for Mike White, man. I mean, it's a fantastic story. And us as Jet fans, we love that type of shit. And, this guy, 26 years old, was never given a real shot. And here he is in his first start, and he, beats the first ranked team in the conference, throws for over 400 yards, breaks 2 records, 2 NFL records. He's got his jersey in Canton. It's just a fantastic story, man. So, it's just hard, because obviously Zach is our guy that we drafted 2nd overall, and we finally want to just, say that we have our franchise quarterback. But it's just, it is definitely a strange feeling, that I'll admit. And I bet, plenty of other people are feeling this way. And I'm sure plenty of other people are saying, oh, shut the hell up, Zach's the guy. And I do understand that. Zach is the guy, for sure. We all want that in the long run. But it's just a very weird feeling, because we're all rooting for Mike White, for sure, after what he did and just his story in general. It's awesome, man. So it's just a weird feeling about the quarterback room right now. And then you got, obviously, Josh Johnson can step into the game and do well and be very productive. And then you got Joe Flacco just looming in the background over all of this. I guess it's going to be that Joe Flacco just doesn't see the field this year for the Jets, hopefully, at least. So it's just so weird what's going on with our quarterback room right now.
At the quarterback,
we got super duper depth at the quarterback position. And I'm just kind of afraid that Mike White's going to get snatched up. I want Mike White to be on the Jets. I want Zach Wilson to start, but I want Mike White to be on the Jets, so that if Zach Wilson goes down, it's Mike effing White, dude, that's coming into the game and slinging it. Yeah. Mike White has just become such a fan favorite, obviously, man.
And
So
he's
it's
like a
just
national
it's
phenom
tough
too.
to exactly. It's really tough to root against Mike White right now, honestly, for this job at least next Sunday. Obviously, like I'm not being foolish. Zach is the second overall pick. We got to give him his we got to do our due diligence with him and give him his time to hopefully flourish and succeed eventually, even by the end of this year, hopefully. But it's just hard to root against Mike White, man. It really is.
I mean, if you're rooting against Mike White, that's just completely
Yeah, not
wrong.
root against Mike White, but I'm just
That's
saying,
just
like,
in general.
it's hard for me to not want him to be out there starting when like we've seen Zach play like shit overall,
Yeah, of course.
and
And there's a
Mike
lot of
White
Jets
has
fans
been
saying,
slinging
hand
it.
the keys to Mike White. Hand the keys to Mike White. Let him run the table and see if we can make the playoffs. There's because Mike White became a national phenom, not even amongst Jets fans, but NFL fans around the world are like, oh my God, Mike White. Maybe the Jets found their guy in the most unorthodox way
Yeah,
possible. And us Jets fans are like, well, the way I look at it is I don't give a crap who is wearing the jersey and who is playing quarterback. I want that guy to be good and win us games and take us to the
yes,
Super Bowl one day. And that's how I look at it, man. It doesn't really matter who it is. I just want them to be great, whoever it is. And I learned that the hard way with Sam Darnold. When we drafted him, I got so invested and so emotionally attached to the idea of Sam being the guy. And when it didn't work out, it just didn't sit with me well. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not crowning anybody to be the franchise quarterback until they either sign an extension with us or they really show up like, wow, you are the guy. Because, Zach Wilson hasn't shown that he's the guy yet. And we're hopeful that he will show it down the line. But as of right now, he hasn't. He's shown flashes, and I still have all the faith in him. I'm not giving up on Zach at all. I know some people already are writing him off, but I'm not doing that just yet. But if you think that Mike White deserves an opportunity, you are completely correct, because I think I'm a really big fan of Mike White. He deserves to start this Sunday 100%. I feel like what Mike White brings to this team, it elevates guys around him. The story kind of ignites a fire within this team, it feels like. And just the fact that he went out there and broke all those records, it's just like those type of things don't usually happen to the Jets. So us Jets fans, we're milking it. We're like, wow, this was awesome. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it had to get cut short on Thursday Night Football. But then you go out there and you see Josh Johnson do that, and you're like, wow, maybe this offense is that good. And we have the best quarterback room we've ever had in our life. I mean, think about it, guys. We have a rookie quarterback who was a second overall pick, who has so much talent, and we're just waiting for him to put it all together. And then we have a backup quarterback who's in Ken, and then a third-string quarterback who went out there. Has been on like 20 different NFL teams. He's a veteran. He went out there and threw for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then we have a Super Bowl MVP on the roster as well, Joe Flacco. That's a crazy quarterback room. I mean, I don't know what we can do with it, but Joe Douglas said the reason why they wanted to get Joe Flacco is because they prioritize the quarterback room. That's the most important position on the entire roster. And they felt an opportunity to bring in a guy, and Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl champion, to just be in the room and provide depth. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with sacrificing that 6th-round pick for that, because even if Joe Flacco doesn't go out there on the field, which I hope he doesn't, I'd rather Josh Johnson at this point than him. But I just feel like the Jets quarterback room, it feels really good. And it's weird because I've never been confident for the Jets to have more than 2 good quarterbacks on the roster at once. So, guys, now we're going to open this up to a Jets Q&A. So you guys in the chat, feel free to ask away any questions that you guys want to ask Jack and myself. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. I know that you guys have been firing away in the chat. Sorry, I've not been looking at it. It's just really focusing on what we're talking about. So we appreciate all the support, guys. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you're new to the stream. We got around 19 likes with 67 people watching. I would appreciate it if we could run up that thumbs up button. If we can get to this to 50 likes before the stream comes to an end, I would greatly appreciate that, guys. So make sure you smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. So, guys, make sure you ask away any questions regarding the Jets. I know that there's a lot of people divided right now, and that's part of being a Jets fan. Some people think Mike White's already the future. Some people think that Zach Wilson's still the future, and it's okay to disagree. So, again, guys, ask away any questions in the chat. I know that you guys are having a conversation amongst yourselves in the chat, I see. But any questions, make sure you guys ask away. You want us to talk, because we're down to talk about anything. Whether it's Mike White, whether it's Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, the rookies, the defense as a whole, the offense as a whole. I see you guys are having a...
There's always big debates going on in the chat.
Yeah, everyone's talking amongst themselves in the chat. I love it. What do you guys think of Sam? Yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking for me, low key. Not heartbreaking, but seeing that video. Did you see the video, Jack, of Sam and Robbie on the sideline?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was just like crazy. It's kind of like I'm very relieved that that's not on the Jets sideline, and I'm thankful that we got rid of them because Joe Douglas fleeced the Panthers. Obviously, Sam was not the guy, and I'll be the first one to admit, I was wrong about Sam Darnold. And for Robbie Anderson to be that frustrated visually, it was just like a weird feeling. I'm like, wow, I hate to see that because me personally, and you guys can disagree, it's okay, but going into this year, I wanted to see Sam succeed. I appreciate Sam as a person and that he's a good guy, and I'm like, all right, Sam, like I like to see you have a good career for yourself. And see him just stink it up like that, it's like, damn. He really sucks. And it sucks for the Panthers because they picked up his fifth-year option, and they're giving him $20 million next year. So
$20 million.
I don't know what the Panthers are going to be doing.
Sam's chilling, honestly, with that 20 million coming his way. But yeah, man, crazy stuff. Definitely unexpected. I mean, obviously, tensions get hot, but especially with two guys that have played together before. I don't know. That stuff is always tough to see. You wish you kind of, I mean, it's cool to see, but sometimes you wish, it's just kept within, out of the public eye a little bit more, just because,
that was bad.
Yeah, it's just not a good look for the organization at all. Like if I was a Panthers fan and I saw like that, like I would be like so upset, like so upset. Obviously we're Jets fans, so it's like kind of hilarious, but if I was a Panthers fan, I'd be so upset. So like, I understand the frustration of the Panthers fans for where they're at right now, man, because we've been there.
Yeah, it's crazy that Sam continues to not only throw picks, but picks the way that he did when he was seeing ghosts and stuff. Like, whatever. We'll move on from the Panther talk. Rahul says, if Zach Wilson and Mike White are good to go Sunday, who do you want to see start? We talked about this earlier in the stream. I think that this week, just in terms of the mindset of not rushing Zach back, letting him get at least 2 weeks of practice, because I saw someone on Twitter say this, which is a very good point. And this damn team sacrificed my damn survival pool. Dak Prescott, he's been injured. He only had 1 week of practice leading up into the game against the Denver Broncos. Dak looked awful. And we know that Dak Prescott's not a bad quarterback. He is a top quarterback in this league. And that's what happens when you rush a quarterback back. He has 1 week of practice and you throw him out there. So that really made me think like, okay, well, if Zach Wilson has 1 week of practice after missing 3 weeks, he's not going to go out there against the Bills and look good. I mean, I'll tell you guys that. So let him have 2 weeks of practice. Let him watch Mike White go out there and do his magic once again. And then we'll assess it next week and give Zach Wilson the start against the Dolphins, and he'll be the starting quarterback for the rest of the year, bearing any injuries. That's my take on it. And I will give Mike White another opportunity to go on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Is Mike White the future? LOL. Listen, man, you can never write off anything. The Cinderella story, you never know. I think it's still a long shot that Mike White is the future, but based on what we've seen from him on the field, it's hard to say that he's not good enough to be the future. It's a very, very small sample size, but I still believe Zach Wilson's the future simply because we invested a second overall pick in him. We're going to be paying him a good amount of money for the next 4 years. So it's not like we can just bench Zach Wilson or anything. But listen, the Mike White dream, there's nothing wrong for a Jets fan to think when you're going to sleep, what if Mike White's the guy? What would that be like? There's nothing wrong with that. And it's possible, but I think it's unlikely, and you never know. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, stranger things have happened, so why can't it happen for the Jets? But it's probably not going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see. You can't completely rule it out by any means at this point.
Like, do you remember when Zach got hurt against the Patriots, and then Mike White came in, and we're like, oh, okay, Mike White, here we go.
Yep.
And then he throws a touchdown to Corey Davis, which was like, we're just like, oh, wow, good catch, Corey. You're like, cool, Mike White.
Yeah.
And then he had like 2 or 3 amazing throws, and I'm like, oh my God, Mike White. And then he threw a pick. We're like, oh, all right, Mike White didn't last. Like, I guess he's just a backup quarterback that's trash. And then he had a really good throw, and you're like, wait, Mike White. And they threw another pick. You're like, okay, guess it was just a little fluke. But then he has a full week of practice, and then the 400-yard game. So it's kind of like, that's just funny how my mindset was with Mike White. We're like, all right, Mike, what do you expect from you? Especially our mindset going into that Bengals game. It's just crazy.
Just
It's
a
crazy.
very weird situation, man.
Mike White is a legend. He is a legend. Say hypothetically Mike White's gone next year for the Jets or something. Like Mike White will be in in Jets fans' hearts forever. Like
For sure.
his Jets jersey. Like I'll be the first one to buy a stealth black jersey. Like just because of that one game. And it has to be the black jersey because that's the jersey he wore for that miraculous game on Halloween. Like that's so sick. Like I can wear a Mike White jersey that's black to a Jets game with confidence and say, yeah, it's Mike effing White. Like I don't care he's on the Jets anymore. He's a dog. He's a savage. He's an animal.
Absolutely. Stevie asked a good question.
This one?
Yeah.
Would
you guys let Zach sit and watch even after he's cleared to play? I think he needs it. It's a good question, man. I think that's where you get into some, some tricky territory, honestly. It really all depends on what happens this Sunday. If Mike White can have a full game out there again, I mean, we got a super small sample size this week, but he had a crazy completion percentage, threw for 95 yards and a touchdown before he left the game. So he could have easily gone off again. So
all he needed is another 200 yards for 300.
Dude, it depends. It really does depend on what happens with the Bills. Because we can see that we clearly saw this week that their offense, can be held to 6 points. So hopefully this will be the week that we've all been waiting for, man, that we were talking about at the very beginning of the stream. If this is the week that the offense can click and the defense can click, it could be another Mike White upset, man. And I'd be down for that. And if that's the case, man, then like the talks really become very, very tricky and very, very serious.
Yeah, the only way the talks become serious is if we win. Like, even if Mike White plays well and we lose, it's not going to be that type of conversation. Like, all right, we're 2-7. Like, let's get the rookie out there and see what we got. But if Mike White goes out there and like beats the Buffalo Bills with a really good game and outperforms Josh Allen, then that's going to be a real talking point next week, like for 100%. And that's going to be really interesting to see what they do because like that's like it's a good problem. It's like, what do we do? It's like, how can you bench the hot hand, but you invested second overall pick in a quarterback? So it's like, all right, we'll give Zach an opportunity, and he's on a short lease, I guess. I don't know. I don't even want to think about that because if that does happen, it's going to be amazing. Like I'm rooting for Mike White so hard. I want him to have 7 touchdowns and break the record on Sunday for sure. This is a good question. Can Elijah Moore and Zach have a connection like Burrow and Chase next year? Hey man, Burrow and Chase, that's like a top in the league. So obviously we're thinking to the top and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But the one thing I will say that I can see this becoming possible is going into the season. And when I heard people like questioning Mike LaFleur, like saying, should we fire him after this year? Even when the offense was atrocious, I was the first one to say like, no. We're not firing Mike LaFleur this year, even if he like has a terrible season all year long, because the one thing that this Jets team has lacked for so long is continuity. The last thing this Jets team needs is to fire another offensive coordinator, bring in a brand new system, and we run another offensive system next year. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think year number 2 in a system for Zach and Elijah Moore, like that's where everything starts to click without thinking. Because I heard so many interviews with quarterbacks and they say when it's your first year in a system, you have to learn everything where you think about, oh, what's this called? What's this route called? What's this formation? But then when you get past that, it's all reactive. It's all instinctual. And that's when you become a really good quarterback in this league and a good wide receiver, when the verbiage all becomes secondary and you're just playing on instinct. And that's when you become a really good player. So I think in year 2 in LaFleur's offense, obviously that's the hope. We're hopeful that Zach Wilson can take that big step at the end of this rookie season. We're hopeful that Elijah Moore can continue this, because if he continues this trend for the rest of the year, we got a star in the making, because he looks like a guy that's getting open consistently and he looks like an absolute beast. So I think that Zach and Elijah Moore have potential to be a really good tandem for the future, but I'm not going to say that yet because we have not seen Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore be productive together yet on the field. The chemistry is not there in terms of we haven't seen it on the field yet. So I'm not going to go out there and jump the gun and say this is going to happen. But the only thing that gives me some reason of optimism is going to happen is simply because of the continuity factor of year 2 in the same system.
Absolutely, man. I think that, I agree with you. I think that might be reaching for the stars a little bit, but you made a great point about continuity in the same system. And obviously we see that Elijah Moore has tons of potential. We've seen Zach Wilson flash incredible potential this season as well. So if those guys can be out on the field at the same time, producing at the same time, and we can establish a connection between them, because right now there isn't really much of a connection at all between them. It seems like so the connection really still needs to be established.
Exactly.
So Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is definitely reaching for the stars a little bit,
And they go back
but
to college days too, so they had
yeah,
chemistry like before even this year.
absolutely. But it's definitely we definitely need to see that relationship, begin between Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, because we've seen what both of them can do, but we just haven't seen it, link up yet. But when it does, it's going to be special, man, for sure.
It's a good point from delusional Jets fan. One thing Zach has to fix is that Mike White is doing brilliantly is spreading the ball around. Zach just kept trying to force feed Corey Davis. So the interesting thing about this is Corey Davis has not been on the field with Mike White. He was against the Patriots. He threw a touchdown to him. But outside of that, um, Corey Davis was not in the field. So that kind of gave Mike White an opportunity to spread the ball around. And I think against the Bengals, I think Mike White had 11 completions to 11 different receivers. Like, that's a quarterback. That's a game manager. That's a floor general. So you make a great point, man. I think Zach needs to realize that there's other people around besides Corey Davis. And he also has to get Michael Carter and Ty Johnson the ball in the passing game, because that's a huge factor of this offense. So we see if you can give the ball to Michael Carter in space and Ty Johnson, they're really good at making people miss and getting that first down. Ty Johnson's more of that type of running back where he's good balance, run through you to get the first down. Michael Carter's the type of guy with crazy balance, juking you out, breaking tackles and stuff. So I think Zach Wilson needs to realize that, going the underneath routes, staying within the system, and spreading the ball out to everybody is a really good quarterback. And I think, and I'm going to say it over and over again, it's a really good thing that Zach is sitting back and watching these veteran quarterbacks go out there and execute the offense the way it's supposed to happen, because I think Zach Wilson, I believe that he's a very smart kid. His mindset is the right guy. He understands football. He's a film junkie. So it's up to him right now to really take these mental reps and develop that, verbiage and understand where the ball needs to be placed. And it's a good take by you, Delusional. I appreciate that. $5 donation from Jackson44. Appreciate the dono. The first one of the stream. I appreciate the dono, man. Coming in the few weeks along with Zach Wilson's setback, what's the status on Mekhi Becton's recovery? I hope I'll get to see him play in Houston. Last thing I heard, Robert Saleh spoke about Becton was like a week or two ago, and he said that he's still, quote, Mekhi Becton was like a couple weeks away from practicing. And I think that Mekhi is going to have at least 2 weeks of practice before he'll be on the field, before they throw him out there. So what's your thoughts about that whole thing with Mekhi Becton's recovery, Jack? Obviously, the status is unknown right now, but I'm hopeful we can get him out there, because Elijah Vera Tucker is looking absolutely what we expected. And Jets fans going into this year, we're waiting to see the Smash Brothers together. And it's just so unfortunate that Mekhi to get injured in week number 1, because who knows where this run game would be if Mekhi was out there with AVT all this time.
Yeah, I know, man. That's been on my mind, for many, many weeks now, that we've seen Elijah Vera Tucker, just flourishing out there, and just it seems like he's improving like on a weekly basis almost. And it just sucks that we don't have Becton out there with him, man, because realistically, Becton is kind of, right there with AVT. I mean, we saw what Becton can do his rookie year, but, he hasn't, solidified himself as a star in this league. He hasn't really proven, that he's, durable, that he's going to be out there every week. So, in my mind, he's, kind of an honorary rookie, I guess you could say. Obviously we've seen Mekhi Becton, but I feel like at this point, the sample size that we've seen from AVT is almost the same that we've seen from Becton in a way, So I feel like we got to get Becton back out there, man, as soon as possible. Obviously we want him to be healthy and ready to go, but we need these guys to really mesh and, just start running people, man, because we could have one of the most dominant, probably the most dominant left side of the offensive line in the NFL, with AVT and Becton both playing at their highest levels and both healthy. That
100%.
would
If we
be
have
incredible. And then Michael Carter behind them, dude, like it could go, it would just be insane. It could go crazy for sure. So we need Becton back out there.
So many highlights of AVT pushing people around, and I just think about Becton. I'm like, oh, there could be highlights of both of them doing it on the same play. can all just realize that most of our entire coaching staff, head coach, offensive coordinator, and all the rookies, it takes time for them to find their own rhythm and playmaking abilities. Yeah, man, Dark Soldier, this is a great point. And this is I try to preach to everybody before the season, but who's gonna listen to me? And and Jets fans have every reason to react on a week to week basis because we're reacting to the games and we're upset when they don't play well and we're happy when they do play well. And that's part of being a fan. It's hard to really have the big picture mindset during a season like this because you're so reactive to what's happening in front of you. But the reality is, it's going to take time for these coaches, for the playmakers, for the rookies, second year players to develop into the scheme. And the unfortunate part of it is it takes time. And Jets fans don't want to hear that because we've sucked for so long. But we're seeing progression, man. And it's a good sign that the rookies are taking steps. It's a good sign that the rookie offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, because guys, Mike LaFleur going into Booth is such a big thing because Mike LaFleur said that the plan for the year was I was supposed to be in the booth from the beginning. I was supposed to be in the booth from week one. But Greg Knapp going down, obviously that tragedy that happened, he had to be on the field because there was no other offensive coach that they had comfortable, being comfortable being on the sidelines with Zach. So Mike LaFleur was forced to be uncomfortable on the sidelines. And now Mike LaFleur finally in the booth, they go out and hire Zach Wilson's personal quarterback coach and John Beck. They got Matt Cavanaugh. They got Calabrese down there. So they have confidence in LaFleur being in the booth. And Mike LaFleur was supposed to be in the booth from week number 1. So it's obvious that he's comfortable in there. And he said, he was completely honest, LaFleur, to everybody. He said, I was upset that I had to be on the sideline. He wasn't upset, but he was really trying to adjust on the fly because he's the most comfortable in there. So it's a good sign that the development for him, and hopefully that can continue. Maybe we need to throw Saleh in the booth at one point if that's really what happens with this coaching staff. We just need to throw them in the booth and then they become the best coaches in the world. That'd be funny. But yeah, so this is a quick negative, unfortunately. Thoughts on Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims, he disappointed, man. He had an opportunity to show up. The only way he was going to get an opportunity in this offense this year is if injury went down to Corey Davis. That's exactly what happened. Corey Davis misses 2 weeks with a hip injury. Denzel Mims subs in, and he led the Jets in snaps. It's not like he wasn't on the field. Denzel Mims replaced Corey Davis. Everything that Corey Davis did when he was healthy, Denzel Mims did. And there was a lot of times for Denzel to make plays. He had a touchdown that he dropped. Cost me a lot of money. And then last week, he had a wide open pass. He dropped it. The one thing I'm noticing about Denzel Mims, which is a really big red flag for a receiver, is he's trying to catch the ball with his body. His hands are not out there. He's waiting for the ball to hit his chest, and it keeps bouncing off his chest and his shoulder pads. A good receiver lets the ball hit their hands and then bring it in, and that's something he needs to work on. Obviously, that's concerning, and it's disappointing that he went out there and disappointed when Corey Davis went down because that was his perfect opportunity to flourish. What's your thoughts about Denzel Mims, Jack? Because that's obviously something that a lot of Jets fans want to talk about.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I just agree with everything you said. I think that he was clearly given an opportunity. He did make a couple plays here and there, but it's obviously, the stuff we remember is the plays that he didn't make. And you especially remember that play that he didn't make in the end zone. But yeah, man, I just think it's really it's another just unfortunate storyline, that's a part of this Jets organization currently, is the Denzel Mims saga. Because when he finally does get the opportunity that we've all been waiting for, it's just been, kind of underwhelming. So, what is the future of Denzel Mims with the Jets? It's a question I really didn't ever think I'd be asking myself, but you kind of have to at this point, But, at the end of the day, he's a second round pick with immense talent. I really think so. So I still think that Denzel Mims should be a part of this Jets offense for sure. It's just, it sucks that he couldn't capitalize on the opportunities that he was given. Do we know if Corey Davis is trending towards playing this week?
Yeah, Saleh said he'll be practicing this week and is looking like he'll be back, which is
all right.
Which is dope.
That's good. He'll be in my fantasy lineup yet again for sure. So yeah, man.
I agree with everything you said as well. I think that the story is not done with Denzel. I'm not saying he's his career with the Jets is over. He's still got a lot of games left this season to be productive. He's still and listen, man, if Denzel Mims for the future for the Jets can be a guy that can provide depth and say Corey Davis goes down, Denzel subs in and he makes productive things happen. You never know. It's good to have a deep wide receiver room. I'm okay with that. And I think that Denzel Mims still has a lot of potential, and I'm not writing him off. I think that he's still going to have a lot of flashes. He's going to get in the end zone this year. I'm going to manifest it. Denzel Mims will get his first NFL touchdown this year because if he goes through 2 years without a touchdown, that's a pretty big deal. So, guys, that's going to wrap up the stream for Jets Media. We like to go live for an hour. We appreciate everybody in the chat that gave us all the donations, that gave us all the questions, that the guys that smashed the thumbs up button. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Jack, anything you want to say before we end off the stream?
Yeah, thank you guys for another great stream. And let's go Jets, man. We'll be back here next week to hopefully discuss a Jets victory at home against the Buffalo Bills. Let's go.
Yeah, man. We're going to be heavy underdogs. It's not going to be an easy game, but hey, the Jets beat the Tennessee Titans at home, and they're 7-2. We beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home, and now we're versing the Buffalo Bills at home. So you never know what can happen. Not going to be an easy game by any means. The Buffalo Bills just came off a terrible loss. So you know that they're going to be playing their A game under Sean McDermott. So, guys, stay tuned for more content all throughout the week. We appreciate all the support here in Jets Media. It means a lot to me. Please make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you did not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Peace out, everybody.